tonight we take a look at the recent mortgage crisis, foreclosure-gate, as some are calling it. It has been widely reported that there are a little more than 60 million home mortgages in the mortgage, electronic, registry, system, or its acronym, is MERS. If every one of the 60 million mortgages is worth $100,000, that would mean a total of at least $6 trillion in home mortgages that are electronically filed. In the mortgage, electronic, registry, system, there is no physical written record of a promissory note. In almost all states, you need that original note to prove ownership of a home. That means in almost every single state, the banks cannot legally foreclose on your home without this document. Some say the loan documents were lost on purpose because the bankers did not want their massive fraud to see the light of day. Whether the notes were lost on purpose or accident, the original notes are nowhere to be found. That is what the robo-signing part of the story is all about. It has been widely reported that foreclosure mills were creating massive amounts of counterfeit promissory notes so banks could legally foreclose on homeowners. Rachel has more.
There are several layers of fraud and white-collar crime committed in this mortgage and foreclosure scheme. The lack of the promissory note is the biggest of all the problems in this chain of chicanery. Here's why. A promissory note is a financial instrument. It is in the same family as a Federal Reserve note. For example, if you copied a $100 bill and then tried to spend that copy in a store, let's say, because you lost the original, is it still money? Of course not. You would need the original financial instrument, here, a $100 Federal Reserve note, to make a legal transaction. The same is true for a promissory note. You need the original promissory note to legally complete a foreclosure. A counterfeit, or copy, of a promissory note is not a financial instrument, just like a counterfeit or copy of a $100 bill is not a financial instrument. Can you see how big of a problem this is for the banks? There is $6 trillion in real estate that fat cat bankers cannot legally prove they own. Also, it means trillions of mortgage-backed securities have no backing. I think this is the biggest financial fraud in history. This was not an accident made by someone pressing the wrong button or a few documents that weren't handled properly. It is fraud on a massive scale that took years and tens of thousands of people to pull off. Ironically, this is all playing out against a backdrop of outrageous Wall Street pay. This year the big banks will pay a record $144 billion in pay packages and compensation to their employees. Forrest?
Two very big things will happen because of this enormous financial fraud. 1. The banks are, once again, going to play the financial Armageddon card and scream for a bailout to save the world. You see, owners of all those mortgage-backed, or unbacked, securities will force the big banks to buy them all back. The big banks do not have that much money and, thus, many experts are predicting another monster bank bailout is on the way. How is that going to be paid for? With money printed out of thin air, that's how? I'll let you in on a little secret. It's already happening. The second big thing is that the banks will have to get tens of millions of homeowners to sign new promissory notes. Then, and only then, will the banks have the legal right to foreclose on homes, and the mortgage-backed securities will actually be backed. Jim Willie, of the Hat Trick Letter, predicts underwater homeowners will be demanding something in return for these promissory notes. Willie wrote, the total $1 trillion bank aid package would cause a firestorm. A key provision to win over public support will be promises by the big banks to finally give home loan balance reductions. That will enable the American public to agree to the package, except 1 year later the American public will be shown more revolving doors and dead-end corridors. In other words, screwed. This $6 trillion problem may or may not sink the banks, but the next bank bailout will surely submerge the dollar. That will trigger very big inflation. More than likely, it will be hyperinflation. Keep in mind, this is not an event, this is a process that will take a long time to work through.